What just happened? What just happened between TSM and All Knights on that map number 1 of Haven? It was insane. Yeah, sure, we can talk about the fact that it was overtime, but I think I'd rather talk about the fact that the teams could only get 2 rounds on the attacking side. It was 10-2 for All Knights. They had it right there, Roy, to close it out, and then it was round after round on the defense. TSM, they made it happen, took it all the way to overtime, and they closed it out that way.
Yeah, in the first half, All Knights, it looked like everything was going their way. They looked smooth. They looked confident. Everything just looked so well constructed, and Dante was popping off. I was like, oh my god, this might just be over. If this is like a quick sweep on the first map, this is definitely going to be an All Knights series. But then TSM gets on their defense side, and suddenly All Knights is having the same problems that TSM was having on their attack. They just couldn't close out these rounds.
You see these early clips of all of them feeling happy, smiling, hyping each other up. Oh, no. And then it's like, if you're an All Night fan, this is where the map ended for sure. But if you're a TSM fan, oh, you kept watching. You kept watching until the very end, because what a comeback they just made happen, Emily. That takes a lot of strength, a lot of resilience, and you can tell how much it matters to the players. This is the kind of win that you need, not only to boost yourself up as a team on this side of TSM, but also to shut this set of All Knights down.
Yeah, I'm laughing because of the standing up and the benching that was happening, and then flipping around. Oh god, my heart hurts. I can't even imagine how All Knights feels right now. I was writing down clips after clips, rounds that kept happening, and then we swapped over, and then the same thing was happening with TSM. But you know what? That was probably one of my favorite matches to watch throughout the whole group. It was so exciting. Kept me on my toes, Roy.
Yeah, if that second half is not the TSM brand, then I don't know what is, because this is literally their identity. They look weird, they look off, and then every time the pressure's on, they level up to it. They never crumble in that pressure. They always, when they need it most, their strength, their superpowers, they come in, and that composure to come back from a 10-2 is just, it's madness.
It's insane. We see the 18 first kills that they were able to get as well, and the conversions that ended up happening for a lot of those rounds, but even turning things around in every way possible. Again, this was a 10-2 half for All Knights. They were all hyped up, excited, and almost trying to close it out. Adverso had some great moments, almost closing it out with an ace before it went into that overtime, into that second overtime. But TSM and GMD were locked in and hype up for this moment. We see the players that we sometimes wonder, how are they going to be performing, how are they going to be playing, how are they going to be reading the game, Emily, answering those questions in such a strong way.
Yeah, I think they read the game fine to me. Even on TSM's attacking side, looking at their stats right here first, though, these are so elevated and these are just so insane. The KDI on both Sim and GMD, 1.8 and 2.1 for Neon and Omen. These are the players that shine throughout this series. And just to go back to what you were saying, their attack side, although it was 10-2, they were doing some of the right things. It's just they were losing the impossible situation I thought they shouldn't have lost. Don't you think, Roy?
Yeah, I do think so. I think there's some of the symptoms that we talked about before from All Knights, where it's like they don't seem to have a deep mid-round read. They have great starts to the round. They have good ideas on how they want to end the round. True. But somewhere in the middle, it's becoming a little bit kind of diluted, where it's like we're just skipping from one phase to another without any real depth. And I think when we're going into Abyss, that could be a little bit problematic.
And we also don't want to take away from All Knights, because they look really good on that first half, and that is the close-up matchup that we kind of expect and we continue to see probably on the map of Abyss. There was a round, I believe, on that round 8 that we got to see that All Knights, Emily, really get the chance to shine, and they go this back and forth between the two.
This is one of the rounds where I was shook, because it was a 5v3, wasn't it? This is the one that was this was the 5v3 round. And here we have Nico coming in here, saving the day, and he's just so proud of himself, if you can see his face. they won again, like I was saying, a situation they shouldn't have won with the 3v5. So him going in there and getting all of those kills really took it to the next level for them.
And honestly, yeah, speaking of situations that they shouldn't have won, this whole map for TSM, that was it. That was it, Roy. Oh my god.
We're in sync again. I was going to say that. Speaking of things that they shouldn't have won, the whole map. Yeah, no, but TSM, the level of form from Sim and GMD was unreal in that first series. I mean, yeah, GMD had a lot of stats, but I think the impact of Sim's clutches and the 1v3s and just like the scenarios that he saved TSM from were just so unreal. It really felt like a fever dream. So I can only imagine what the players are feeling right now.
And we're heading into Abyss next. This map that we've talked about quite some time, comparing the compositions, the way that these two teams like to play and implement their own style into this. But I'm still a little bit concerned about All Knights and their ability to reset going into the second map. Their chances depend a lot on them at least taking one map away from TSM. So that means a full mental reset needs to take place. Let's jump into the Blacklight Agent Selector to find out what they're going to be playing on this second map, Emily.
Yes, so we've got Dante on the Jet. We have the Yoru. Oh, your favorite, Roy. The Yoru is in play for Abyss. And okay, so yeah, this is a good agent select, I think.
Yeah, and I actually think that this map kind of favors All Knight's calling style because, again, they're not really that deep in the mid-round. And this is one of those maps where there really doesn't need to be that deep of a mid-round because there aren't that many objectives to accomplish on the map. So as long as they have their executes down and their slams down, I think that will favor All Knight's attack side. And because their defense has been pretty good so far.
Adverso in the past has been honest about struggling to reset mentally when it comes to these kind of situations. So all those smiles, they're good to see on this out of All Knights because we want to see a third map between All Knights and TSM. Let's find out though if that's going to be the case. And we send it to your casters is Tenrek and Keg.
Ooh, Ascension, life on the line for both of these teams. TSM winning out against All Knight's map pick is a pretty considerable start. You always want to win your map pick. Enemy team, hypothetically, should win theirs. And then you fight the decider. But winning out on your enemy teams and then going into your own is an easy path to victory.
Recovering it.
But you stare at the Abyss stares back at you. It can be very difficult. This is scary, dude. And already a fast push potentially into B. This is going to be All Knight starting off explosive.
Fog of uncertainty placates both of these teams in pistol round and in future rounds. All Knights having elected to start on this attack tend to be explosive with Dante at the forefront, but if Sim can shut him down the way he did last map, then TSM are on the road to that sweet, sweet 2-0.
Cage trigger.
That would net them a spot in Ascension. So late to those standings, but they will have the numbers to back it up.
Absolutely. Stars down on B, a lot more malleability with the utility from TSM's side. All Knights much more reliant on being there and present to make that utility the most of what they can do. Back to B we go.
Sabando now taking that default position because he is the one planting. And All Knights will try to extend back out to spawn. No flanks from TSM this time around. At least just yet, GMD could get a little creative. That Cypher cam should slow down and probably stunt any idea of it. In fact, the entirety of TSM is here and GMD is still over in mid. This is a little bit of a fragmented defense, but there's a lot of TSM still here, so still feel pretty comfortable with it. Oh, Nico Machine, great shots. GMD's flank has finally come around though. It's actually good enough to field out Adverso. And TSM with the volume on B and the help from the flank will get that first pistol round.
Yeah, these flanks are going to be so important watching TSM throughout their defense. They have the Astra that can use her utility anywhere on the map. Very important for flank control. Very tough for All Knights to keep a consistent eye on and have a mental approximation about what the pathing of this Astra could look like. Now, usually that's bad in of itself, right? If you're up against an Astra. But now you have a Yoru on top of it too. Two agents whose entire game plan is to mess up what you think you know about that team's information. There's going to be a lot more guesswork for All Knights, and if Haven was a big struggle for their attack doing that already, you added two very spicy ingredients into the mix now for them to deal with.
so much that is not completely certain here for All Knights. This is the second time we've ever seen them on this map. I believe for TSM, it will be the third recorded,
Yes.
but obviously their scrim history is going to be a little bit different. I imagine TSM has more experience in the comp matchup than All Knights. This has been a little bit more of a North American comp for Abyss that I've seen. Of course, All Knights being more geared towards the fights, they will go more towards that Ascent look. But it doesn't mean that it's going to not work. I mean, if Dante is able to get these opening frags like we're so used to seeing him do, then All Knights can look so much more alive immediately off of just that. It was a big reason why the pistol looked so much weaker, is that Dante looked out an open window and then died, and then that's all he really did that round. From there, you can't really have much momentum into the B push, which is kind of the whole thing of Abyss attack, is momentum.
I mean, I suppose so, but that's what the Yoru and the Astra is great for, is that stalling potential. You have the ability to pre-place yourself anywhere you want, and even with a Cypher or however many Sentinels you really want, it's still tough to have a proper marking about the flank usage from a defensive team like TSM. That is going to be a gigantic struggle. We're going to be seeing All Knights have to take these rounds either very slowly or very fast, just like we saw before. And again, we know their specialty is they'll have those fast, aggressive plants onto a site, usually towards B, but sometimes catering towards A too. It's really just a matter of whether or not the calls for TSM's utility usage can be as on point as it was on the first map.
Yes.
The Astra, very tough at times to get the proper calling down, but when you have your leaders to help do that, have that proper timing down, the Yoru on top of it as well, you gotta make sure everything works perfectly, because this is a mechanism that can break very, very easily.
Yeah, Astra in particular, who I will always advocate for, like every second of every day. Love this agent. Never has such a diverse agent been so able to like freeze the mentality of a lot of teams. Coming into this Astra meta, I'm talking about mental for yourself. I think that compared to some other agents in which, you know, your mobility grants you a lot of options, or your ability to place this particular piece of utility, there's a lot of different things you can do with it. That's Astra's whole thing, but it leads to an overwhelming of choice that can muddle comms if your team does not have a strict playbook. It's like going into a streaming service thinking what you're going to watch, and then you're just overwhelmed by all of the choices rather than settling on one show. TSM, they have not entered that mental freeze with this composition just yet. But the rhythm of these fights that they take, especially against such a normally fast-paced team, like you said, have to be so carefully cut. When do you place those stars down? When do you enact the grav well? When do you decide to smoke things out? When do you let most of these stars go? How much of a fight does TSM want to take at a time? They have all of the freedom to make that choice, but they've got to make the right choice.
I see what you're saying, and I do agree in a vacuum, but I think TSM, again, with the stakes of this game being what they are, bringing out the Astra, having used the Astra every time they've played this in Ascension, they have all that Astra utility down. It's more of the worries about All Knights and how they respond to it is my big factor, is that you have a lot of these more structured compositions in terms of utility. The Omen Smoke goes there. The Sova utility needs to go beyond here. It forces this. There's a lot of ifs and then ands afterwards, or ifs and thens. With Astra, yes, but you have the entire playbook to your advantage. You can change that up, and only TSM are going to be aware of what the then after the if will be. So, could it be a smoke into a grav well? We've seen that for years now. But there's a lot of options here for the team to switch it up. Not to mention, too, the Cosmic Divide is essentially a substitute Viper Wall for great rounds. Now, given it is the defense they start off on, when we look towards the attack, it's much more of a point. Great way for a fast entry onto a site. Huge to change up pacing against All Knights. And these have been teams that have struggled with pacing at times. Might be the perfect way to get through All Knights to bring this 2-0.
Yeah, Cosmic Divide in particular, in my opinion, so far in Abyss's lifespan, probably the most valuable piece of util to get used by any agent on it. A retake machine that Ultimate is. Teams really unsure of how to fight against it. with this map still in its infancy.
We haven't even begun to talk about the Yoru.
Yeah, we really haven't, have we? There's just so much to discuss outside of it, but I mean...
I will boil it down to one word. Well, actually, I was gonna say mid, but I think that would give the wrong impression.
Yeah, you would have started a fire.
Watch mid. Not the Yoru being mid. I like the Yoru on this map. Watch mid, because we'll see a lot of the time, similar to how M80 will play Yoru, is that you'll see these defensive Yorus push down so aggressively into mid, past that box that we see poised aiming towards, and it'll find so much extra added value, especially destroying early attacker Cypher cams. That star's down, climb the wall up. This is great to shut down the aggressive potential and retakes on B. Less utility on A to worry about though. There's that one-way smoke that could be set up soon. Everyone's already looking to back away from TSM's front. No buy-ups this time from All Knights. Very different from Haven, when both teams opted to force after losing their first round.
Again, discipline is the name of the game here. All Knights, a very disciplined first take. A smoke that Dante will attempt to press. With this gun diff, TSM can ride out the storm though, and win out whoever approaches. Spike down, camera up, Sabando planted now. TSM with now even more volume, with more firepower, with everybody here. It will be even more trivialized around, and the duelists come up heavy here in round number 2.
See, the Yoru's not mid.
Flawless.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I mean, look, overall, right? 7 played that amazingly. I love the patience coming out from TSM. Albeit there was a big weapon discrepancy going into that round. It's expected to have the team gather a lot more kills than hopefully All Knights would. But most importantly, too, 7 is farming his ult usage early on. We'll have to look and see into the next round how far away he is, but when we start to see these early rifle rounds from All Knights, he can gather so much more information than anybody else in the server, and he can choose when in the round to use that too, whether it be early round or even the retake. He just needs 2 more ult points to use it.
Such a linchpin in rounds for TSM here. Sim, the peak is good for 1 on the high-low, and that means 7 is going to try and re-up the fight. A flash, an attempt, but nothing. And so a 4v4 we go to, with AK's position with the spike still uncertain.
Yeah, but keep in mind too, Dante's gone. Much more difficult for AK, even with Sim's loss too. TSM don't have to create space, they just deny it. Dante, without him around, it's gonna be hard to fast track into A or B. You have to rely much more on utility. And with these smokes going down on both sides, that's a difficult endeavor. Double controller from TSM. They have to aim check everything now.
Inchop gonna be the first to do it, and 7 is the one lacking. A Proto on the narrow though, able to frag back, and now hold it down in the smoke.
Left.
Unsure of how far in he is, AK cannot press the second half of the site. And so they'll play from the distance again, giving TSM an opening. More than enough time for GMD to once again go for this flank. Who is on duty this time? Not Sabando. He's holed up at default, and with this one-way smoke, he has a lot of time to himself. And Verso watching the lane can find the next. The Proto, though, now turning around and finding Sabando. Nico Machine, more than occupied, and turns around just in time for the flank. AK salvaged the bonus with 1 still standing.
I was so worried. Only having Sabando hold down the actual site itself and left 2 watching specifically for GMD's flank adds a lot more pressure to Tinchoff if he doesn't survive until the late round. That Cypher becomes more valuable, more resources dedicated away from the spike and post plan itself. But it still worked out because of the weapon advantage. That's not something you're going to be able to rely on All Knight's end after this next round. TSM, though, they need to keep their economy alive. Both in a fragile state. This is a meltdown round. It could turn into a broken by city, bouncing back and forth. 7. Flash. Straight away.
There it is.
Unbelievable, but no TP out.
That means that Dante Deus now has to hold it down. All Knights must commit after he wide swung. but it's enough to take the site.
Planted.
And like you said, such a tough buy. After this round, it'll be a mad dash for the finish line. The economy is in tow. Sim giving himself away with the updraft as opposed to the trap wire, hoping that everyone's a fair distance out. They are not. They're playing the tunnel. And the remainder of TSM will reveal themselves voluntarily. Proto coming in first to fight with the snake bite. Poise next with the swing. He's pretty quickly cleared out, and the Hunter's Fury will be tossed in for good measure, but it's Sabando who takes a 4-piece to tie things up.
Yeah, really curious to see how Sabando reacts to the first few rounds of the tap. It was a very, very rough ending for him on Haven. Multiple times caught off guard, being brought out, first death over and over, having virtually no value, and making the lives of All Knights much more difficult without smokes.
Perfect.
But now, still looking like good spirits, having a lot of impact early on, a great 4K. This is the bounce back you're looking for in players.
Here.
But TSM, they changed up their pacing and they pushed out aggressive. That was risky. Worked out somewhat. For the 3-stack outside of A, mid with no control whatsoever. Exploration.
Stack has been foregone for one on A site.
Take flight.
And All Knights will be able to read that pretty quickly into its lifespan. Sim is going to try and sell just the one. He does pretty decently. But with still the gun dip raging and enough of All Knights to fight this out, it should be a done deal, but no! Every member of TSM is each good for one as the members of All Knights file into the fray. And so it is a 1v2 to conclude round 5. TSM will keep it close, and All Knights, again, no idea where a Proto could be.
No. And I don't think you'd want to dedicate the neuro theft if that last ult orb can be gained either.
Toxin screen down.
For TSM. Time with the walls there. Proto has no pulse at all on AK's movements. 40 seconds left on the clock now. There is an attempt to go into the war zone of the Fallen and pick up a rifle. But again, that's a big risk.
30 seconds left.
You have no information at all. These are two members of All Knights that could be anywhere. And they've always been the anchors for this team. And they themselves, the reverse, no information on a Proto's presence. They're down a map. You cannot take a risk even against a lower buy. Do something silly and bring things to a 1v1 or maybe even worse.
Planted.
A maximalist approach. All Knights must continue to take, and so they stand in the retake with a smoke, a paranoia, and a trapwire that Tinshoff will release on Heaven of the
Poison
Sun.
orb emitted.
That's where a Proto's headed, luckily.
Poison's off.
He'll let him know. A Sheriff 1v2 for the ages, and Sabando will decide it early. All Knights take the lead.
Great eco round from TSM, removing 3 different guns and of course a little bit of damage to the Sabando as well. May call for the reinvestment. Again, economy is going to be the name of the game this early on. With a big stall procedure that TSM are very much relying on, they're going to have to take these rifle rounds a little bit more cautiously. They swung out the last 2 rounds. Of course, the last one was just Sheriffs. But you cannot squander any more rifles. If you continue to keep playing for these broken buys, All Knight's lead is going to continue to extend further. I'm going to watch this lurk in mid from T-Shot. There's no defensive presence at all. And if All Knights continue to keep conditioning their way through, they're going to find extra added value. Sim, operator in play, waiting for that first peek, but it's the reverse! Rifle on rifle! It falls for TSM! A huge loss!
He's opping now. He's angry.
Portal closed.
Desperation time for All Knights to survive. And it starts here.
The clone!
Fun gap that can be avoided. This presence from All Knights on A site is gonna bring up GMD in 7, but not stow away Poised in a Proto. There's not enough intel to dictate how many members of All Knights are on this push, and it's good thinking by TSM to know that. That being said, it looks like the lead is going to be towards A site, and with enough time waning away, it'll just be GMD left to hold on to this and make the call whenever AK does It'll be in the next couple seconds. The null command proc. GMD misses opportunity number 1. One more choke to make it happen, and he catches the one guy that can get rezzed. The null command from Nico Machine is the body block to gain AK, the critical 5v3 advantage to take this to a 4-2 game.
Saving the call very early at that. Good to see. I'm so worried about this A push that TSM are just so dead set are doing in the mid round. After already, Dante has revealed himself to have the operator in play. It was a dry swing from GMD to attempt to take anybody out. Now, was it the op on the other side? No. But you don't know that.
Yeah.
And that's going to make these early swings a lot more tough for TSM. I'm expecting them to play much more cautiously, and I can see why with the triple save. If they lost all those guns, they'd be going back again to a very broken buy. We might see a recreation of the first half of Haven.
Yeah, this is already looking like a decent snowball AK are trying to set up, and they're going to try and get rid of some extra
Pick
guns.
something nice to kill them
with
with.
Sabondo.
It's the least we can do.
He's very excited to get in the fight. Has been this whole match.
He's got to get revenge for the ending of Haven, dude.
For sure. For sure, after all he did in it, absolutely.
Or, well, I mean, even at the end, all he didn't do, right? He
So
kept
true.
being the opening pick.
Yeah.
But the smokes, this map have been elevated for both teams. A pause already made. And this has to be TSM's, yes. And the answer has to be, how do you want to conduct this like on a big picture scale, right? Like that macro. Because I think the easy answer could be, just retake. But kind of like a map like Sunset, right? There's so many massive chokes that can be attacker post-plan favored that make it very difficult, even utility-wise, to gain that space back for a retake. Sure, you have smokes, you have the Viper walls on B, but the way All Knights are playing and trying to secure critical picks before going into a site, what if you lose that Viper? What if you lose the Astra smokes? That's gonna be such a difficult endeavor to bring things back.
Yeah. You don't talk about the Hydra with 5 arms, and if you break off an arm, then he just has 4 more arms. TSM
That's a lizard.
is the Hydra. And sure, All Knights, like you said, yeah, they're a lizard. They can keep regrowing parts, but it takes a round. It takes a reset. And they cannot allow that. Not when it's this late into the tournament. Not when they're this short. If TSM get the win. It'll be another B stack to start things out, but AK will once again play the field.
Early Owl drone, Sim discovered. Still, the 2 controllers remain unknown, but the early presence of this util may give something away. Already the pacing at least should feel faster from All Knight's path, but they themselves disengage. And Owl drone mid does not discover Tinchov. The lurk, yet to be fully utilized. Dante, an opening pick, biggest crux of information now gone for TSM. Contact plays, the jump peaks now even more apparent.
He can't keep getting away with it, we say, 1 round later.
Hey, do you see that gate crash right next to the cliff? That's making me
yeah,
nervous.
that one right over next to Secret. Yeah, that's making me a little nervy. Well, Dante
He
has
doesn't fall.
Yeah, Dante. Oh
no!
Well,
but wait, does 7 know?
Yeah, no, I think that's gonna get. I don't think 7 can TP anymore. So
Well,
I
no,
think he
but
knows.
does he think he may be able to engage with the op and then
Well-
tries to TP away and he's like, hey, what's going on?
No, because he'll get told that.
30
that he
seconds
died,
left.
right?
Yeah, but when you're so focused like this, you could
going
miss
out.
something like that.
We'll see. It might not even come into play, as that's not where the fight is gonna be.
Toxin
It's
screen
gonna be the
down.
B site. A Proto doing some great stall work, and now will actually get inside the smoke, try to take the fight close quarters, but it's shut down. It's Sim's time to flank.
10 seconds left.
The Blade Storm
Spike
got a chance
planted.
of getting some very early picks. Founded Verso. Too much work done on site. And Tinchov, he's there for a reason. Will finally find it. 7, just a little too late this time around. Will hold on to that operator and go to where his TP was in the first place.
The scene of the crime. Where are you? Can
yes.
you hear me?
I remember it like it was yesterday. I had the gate crash right here.
I'm
And now
down
it's
here,
gone.
7. Please come rescue me.
I'm down here, 7. Help me.
It's okay. We need to see another floating jet going down the cliff again to maybe rescue the gate crash. I mean, all night so far, they've been so good about parsing out this early round. That is an amazing shot. Holy.
Yeah, beautiful.
But that aside, right? Like, the way All Nights have been parsing out this early round and really choosing how they want to take this first engagement has been so radically different from this team. They are not barrel rushing in like they have before. They're straight up defaulting to find these opening picks.
Agreed.
Careful here.
It's a really important shift that I think goes to show how much All Nights have been preparing for specifically this map. It is one that has forced a lot of teams to rethink their play styles and sort of shift them a little bit until they're able to learn their strengths here. It'll still take some time. Certainly some that couldn't be spent in preparing for this tournament itself. But plenty of time in the offseason for whatever team makes it to Ascension. And again, TSM fighting for a chance to even be one of the 4 teams left that can make it there. With this map, they will be. And All Nights will be thrust out along with Latin America's chances. Dante,
Good swap.
enough time with the operator. Mom said it's my turn on the controller. And we go at some point. It's got to be Dante to open, but it's got to be All Night soon after. Updraft into on high, but GMD unchecked and unfettered. TSM is now here to play, and that means the site is all but decided, right? No! All Night still have the speed to get on, and the shots to back it up. Nico Machine this time on the operator, and he's making good on it. Sim keeps the fight exciting, but just in the 1v1, there's one more member of All Nights to clear, and he will clear. 6-2 All Nights.
And that's a very scary round for TSM to lose. That might be a attack pause initiator right there, but one was already used. The fact they can have all that stall that we talked about set up for A, the read was made right, and still, yeah, the flashes are out. There's a flash advantage by 1 that All Nights have, but even then, the ability to updraft up, take heaven control, get past GMD, despite all that util being down, and losing these fights is devastating. This round matters. You have so many ults to play with, and they've been very conservative from TSM's end. Gotta use them to gain this advantage. Look at this positioning from Sim. The only one without an ult. Pushed up deep in the mid with the help of the Sova and Yoru.
Certainly a fun position. What can TSM do with it? It's purely to fight if All Nights decide to have more than just the one in Tinshoff here in mid. They want to have that secret third member outside of the 2 sightlines. But no one's gonna bite just yet. Tinshoff. Sim is gonna press this all by his lonesome. Don't do it to him. No, Tinshoff has the trap wire out. Tragic timing.
The flank is enabled now.
And that's the opening. TSM could be anywhere here, and All Nights must pick somewhere. It'll have to be the B site. Enough presence will be there to at least get a Proto out of the picture, whether it's through spacing or fragging. That's more a Proto's choice, honestly. AK is here. So is the pit. Oh, Poised, just letting this go. Looking for a Viper, but he oh no, it's Poised that finds Sabondo instead. It's a pile drive on this site.
Spike planted.
That All Nights have still been able to plant on at least, but certainly nothing more beyond that, right? There's enough here. Nico Machine is a fun spot, but no doubt TSM are fully aware of it. Circling the boat, the Sharks will feast, and Verso finds the first. Viper's Pit let go, and Nico good for 2. But GMD saves the day, and the controllers will stay standing for TSM's 3rd round.
What an expensive round from TSM to utilize most of their ultimates. But Poised, MVP of the round with that Hunter's Fury. The Viper's Pit comes down, and I think we may see some replays here. The Hunter's Fury allowing the Viper to push in by removing Sabondo and give information for the Viper to push in further beyond the outskirts of the ultimate to reclaim space in the post plan. Now, Astra's wall just helped reinforce that by keeping all of the attackers inside of sight, forcing the contest into the pit. The problem is that you don't have those 3 ultimates every round. Now you have 7, possibly using Dimensional Drift this round for early info. But with how slow All Nights are playing and how much they can rotate off, ooh, that was scary.
Wow.
It might have to be used late round for the retake.
Tinchoff literally almost showing his hand
Enemy
there.
mark. Enemy tag.
Owl drone to attempt to confirm, and it will find Dante Deus instead, so now you know that there were 2 in mid at least. Does TSM respond in kind? No, they'll actually let go of mid a little bit and just continue to play for the default hold. AK in kind. Gonna try and make this lane up mid. Double
that's
cyber
scary.
cage.
Get out of my way!
Or try to sell the location. The flash. Sim somehow finds Dante before AK can shut it down. Now we got a reset. Poise found by the Cypher ultimate, and now he, along with the Proto, getting chased down. But Adverso, unable to land these shots on the Hunter's Fury, will manage to chip out a Proto, though. And so 2 members of TSM stand fragmented, but not down, and that's what matters. Sabando on the circle back, and AK can crunch B-site with their mid presence. It's about damn time. 3v2 on the post plant.
Body advantage now. Dimensional drift is down to give reposition value for this Yoru. TMD hyper-focused in for the anti-flank. Conditioning now red. A great protocol for all night. It leaves 7. The last one left alive. 1 smoke available. Make that 0. There's still 2 left alive. Nico does have null command that could be brought into use, but the operator's picked up and all but seals the round for TSM. 3 on the board, but 7 now for All Knights. It's becoming more of a recreation of what happened on Haven. It's been a very tough time for TSM to retake these sites.
And arguably walking into All Knight's better half on the defense, things look to go to 3. But still such a way to go, and every single member of TSM, their mental completely reset. They are still so in this, just trying to hold on to these rounds and not getting too discouraged when they have to let them go. Kind of the tougher part of Abyss is just knowing when it's time to save, and ultimately, a lot of the time it's so early, but so far TSM holding on to what matters. That operator, it's back in Sim's hands. Let's see what he can do with it this round.
Located deep into A side, the Owl drone out. All Knights are recognizing that mid has been an easy venture for them, for the most part. 7, having not found a lot of value so far this half. Really just playing as a secondary jet with the teleport out. Even then, the late rounds are when he's most active. Nico this time, though. Very tough to make those contacts. Poise did invest into the Guardian. Playing also on A site. TSM expecting the read to be a fast push here off this eco. Not the case. AK are taking this just as slow as any other rifle against them. Smokes out. Great potential crunch play yet again, but it's a sneak through. Spike is not picked up by AK, but they can very well crunch in the mid. Completely unknown. A distraction factor. Sure, the shoulder of the robot's gone. But look at this though. How deep Tinchoff is. They can catch off the rotates, bring the spike wherever they want.
Ballstar quickly placed to try to get the Nova Pulse poised. Swings
30
early.
seconds left.
And Tinchoff's gamble does not pay off, but it gives space to Dante, who will now farm the backside. A Proto gone. 7 having to fight for his life now from the back line. But Dante is not as consistent, and so Sabando has to clutch up. How close is the rest of TSM?
14 seconds.
Yeah, no time at all to do anything other than go for the plant, and so TSM have no trouble going for the fight. Dante with the operator has to, or excuse me, the outlaw has to lock in, and he will for just one more. Sabando, early peek out on the fight to turn it to a 1v1, and Sim, the swing of a lifetime to potentially get this half back. With Sabando a smoke in hand, it all comes down to the timing. The jump from Sim is a gamble that doesn't work. All Knights will hold on to round 11 with an iron fist and make it an 8-3 game.
Round in the half.
Oh, what a scary round for All Knights. They nearly let it slip away off of a thrifty that could have been for TSM. And with all the smoke util really stepping up, the slow lurk, a big risk was made from All Knights. They weren't completely sure where they wanted to push until the very late ends of a round. And that indecision nearly costed them. But they have so many rounds this first half that they're looking fantastic. Adaptability for TSM, where are you? Last round of the half, it needs to be made. Finally now 7 being much more active early on for this swing. Flash, decoy available. The timing though is off! Unlucky. 7's gone now. Your flash is essentially null.
What a gamble. Sim fell for TSM felt needed to be taken. Dante, little extra space with the cloud bursts, a lot of extra space with the team. No command to bolster, but guns have been spotted in a proto. Fun angle. AK regardless, have the wherewithal and also have the ultimate on KO, so they have a little bit of extra help. Turn this quickly to a 4v2 and poised. Found out by Sabando just as the revive comes through. T's crossed, I's dotted. We will reach another 3 scoreline here unless Guimond comes up crazy in the 1v3.
20 HP though. Already spotted a quick headshot. Averso going nuclear this first half. Unbelievable game work from all nights, and besides maybe that one round where they nearly lost to the Thrifty, even in their losses, the team looks excellent in the way they're taking control of the map, very effectively securing all lanes. The entire premise of TSM utilizing the Astra, the Yoru, for these late round retake flanks to divide out these lines of sights, drive away the focus of the spike and the retake, never amounted to be. The entire defensive prowess of TSM's Agent Select was null and void after 4 rounds in. But now they have the attack to bring things back and be a little bit more zany with how they want to take space.
Yeah, this will be their more confident half for sure, the one that they can replicate plays with a lot more. They will not have to fan through their rubric as much to find value, and that'll be really important for TSM, not only for this game to wrap it up, but long term in the playoffs, still having stuff to reveal to these teams. Both of these teams have so much more to show, and to think only one of them will make it past this match here in Monterey.
I mean, at this point, right? You have to make it work now for TSM.
Yeah.
They were in the same exact spot not too long ago. A 1-round difference. That first pistol is going to be in everything. At least now, TSM, they have a map of buffer. But they already won their enemy team's map pick. They can't lose their own. Can they? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've been seeing, this is really just...
I'm just so...
head in the game.
Yeah.
It really got to be. Again, Ascension life on the line for one of these teams. And with advanced quantum calculus behind the scenes too to see whether or not Reda can survive as well. It's really down to this. A lot of pressure mounting on the shoulders, for both teams. TSM now. 3 stars for GMD's possession. Could be a very expensive smoke-heavy round here. I mean, do they choose the default? Do they just push in the mid-round? A lot of answers need to be found in these very, very early rounds, but just not picked up. Telling me this could very well just be a fake dedication back to A-Site. Discover again where Team Chomp's utility is lying.
Grazing from Sim. He's just walking right in to try and find one. Dante quickly shuts that down, and the Tailwind is procced immediately. TSM will press B-Site, but thanks to that Yoru TP, it's a sudden 3-stack on A-Site, and so although Poised is shut down, it'll be a 3-stack to take on the site. That being said, it's a 3-stack to take on the site, and All Night still does have 5, so it makes it a little tougher. 7 though, can at least shorten the crowd and get rid of all of those bullets just as he drops down. Tough fight rhythm, buddy. Try again next time. As All Knights once again have to retake this site. Beautiful smoke set up by Guimond to reduce how much space he has to double check. AK make the climb in, it's a dry swing. The GMD manages only one, but stuck on Spike. TSM can bunker up, and it's a 1v2 for the ages here. 7 stalls, but not long enough. AK, about a player's health between them to get the pistol, and no doubt the advantage per map, but we have said that before.
Yeah, we saw the eco management in the first half of TSM wasn't in the best of spots. Only with a body advantage though. All Knights still barely slipping away from that round. Getting it. Big round advantage though for the team. A quick, simple retake helped things out. Now here's the thing. If this is going to be a round where you pressure one side, you use the Yoru TP to push the other, all it takes is one audio cue for All Knights to recognize where the crux of the push could be coming in from. Buy up again. A force buy from TSM that could put them in a very odd spot if they don't convert this next round. 3 to 11. Owl Drone versus Owl Drone. Attack battle. One goes under the other. Plenty of information possibly found from TSM's end. And now, All Knights know that this should be an A push. They can start rotating.
Revealing area.
Here we go. Big recon bolt, but catches the Yoru drone instead. There's the right Yoru, and Verso will correct and collect. A second with the spray onto GMD. The TSM did not complete planting. Now you get to reset, and Sabanto, when the smoke fades, he is good for one as well. Still, though, it's a little bit slow. Slim pickings here, and Sim does have a sneak. TSM very clearly playing to win still, and they very much can. Toxic screen, now is the time to get the spike, Buckaroony. You can't? That's tough,
I don't know if you can.
AK backs
Timing.
out.
Don't know how any information about Top of Heaven. You could spray it through that Viper smoke and get the spike wielder.
This big take, Dante again, just a little earlier than everyone else, and it opens up the window, but luckily Tinchoff can close it right back up. And AK make it 11-3 indeed.
This is tough for TSM. No answers. Both sides so far had a force buy, tried to brute force their way into A, and not going to be a possibility. The smoke's being worked against the team now with the various pieces of util that could show the highlights through the screens for All Knights. And this was supposed to be the crux of entirely what TSM want. Use those smokes, block those lines of sights, and now they have to rethink the strat from the ground up with very little room to spare. A tactical pause, brought out. 3 to 11.
Scared everyone for a moment there, dude. Don't do
My
it again.
bad. I'm sorry. I mean, regardless, still, it's a time for TSM to breathe, and it's something they desperately need. I mean, it's a tough spot to be in when the entire macro of what you want has been shut down. What seems like the rounds even before they even begin.
Yeah, it seemed pretty simple for All Knights for the most part so far. A lot of first bloods that have kind of just dictated how much power All Knights get to hold on to, and that is again symptomatic of both Abyss and also Abyss's infancy in the map pool. Advantage gets you so much farther in a vacuum. But beyond that, like you said, it's All Knights being prepared for the shutdown and then enacting consecutively and consistently. And TSM are unable to approach regardless of how many members are there.
I mean, part of it too is that we talked about the Astra, the Viper, and the Yoru util. You have to have a checklist for not only you, but your whole team to make the maximum use of this utility. And that just makes it so readable for All Knights to push. Recon Bolt is out. That spots at least 3. That's the 3 core members we talked about.
Right here.
Anything goes now.
Yeah.
Spike almost went on a dangerous journey mid, but goes for Safety City, back over to the Viper wall on A, where that Cypher util lies. The Nika machine's ready and waiting for the Astra that hasn't been seen since.
Waltzing up to the other side, but no one else from TSM will be present at Verso. Nice shots, man. And yet again, TSM will unfortunately not be able to make it work with this force buy. They will have practically nothing. GMD is here, though, up to heaven. Could find a good angle. There goes Verso. A Proto that turn onto a Tinchoff. That's the time to go, go, go. Nico can shut down Gimon, though, so it'll be a 3v1. And Nico can take his time with it. A Proto going to choose to get proactive in response.
30 seconds left.
But that, lives in fear of the flash drive for sure, so we'll just go back to the spike. Assaulted is the Proto and dealt with swiftly. 9 rounds of game point for All Knights. And I think it's time, Keg, that we touch on something quite notable, which is that if TSM lose this map and then come out with a victory in map 3, then TSM will be able to contest themselves once again in the standings. All Knights will still have a round differential that will probably get them over the line. There is a chance we could see both of these teams in playoffs. It is slim, but it is just barely there.
That's a lot to soak in.
Pending for sure. And All Knights, again, if they win, then TSM obviously totally and completely out. And they would love to do that. They would love to get that win, especially to clinch that second seed for themselves. This would be a good way to cement that mentality And again, try to get TSM's mental completely destroyed.
Could very well be the vessel into map number 3. 3 to 12, a very large number discrepancy for TSM to bring themselves back. It's an early split push start here for TSM, already discovering half of the prongs of needed to push in. At this point now, fake TP brought out. Tries to force the rotate for All Knights back to A site. It may work. GMD fighting Adverso. The recombo often giving away the plot to this attack before it can begin. Won't be a possibility this round. Now Dante could be good for yet another. The flick was nearly there, but both outlaw shots leaving Boys with a breath of HP. 4. The fragment nade does not kill. By what? A fraction.
And Sim and 7 can take over the site. Boys can just sit here and can get cleared though. Nico Machine will do a lot of the heavy lifting on the site itself, but Guimond will realign and take over the frontline duties to make it a 2v1. Tinchoff, a clutch here would be great, but it's not required. TSM a long road that they've begun to trip on. 4-12.
Just big round, big recognition from GMD, ensuring where a lot of these peaks would be coming from. And that's pretty much the round. I mean, it was really just divide and conquer from TSM's end, taking things slowly and having a proper read about where to expect the individual players of All Knights. And with the big round discrepancy that we have, All Knights have the change, the ability to change up drastically how they want to play these early rounds. They could just gamble and rush a site. And off of this tag pause, we could see a very different pace.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this attack, is that it can change on a dime. TSM definitely have the kit. All Knights talking about all those possibilities. Now that that buy has been opened up, TSM, they found momentum very quickly outside of that slump here on the defense. And they can carry that as long as the game continues.
You do not want your team to start faltering. You do not want another recreation of so many rounds in a row to bring it to overtime and slip away match point that All Knights had all but secured on map 1. It seems like a very aggressively early timeout. And that's because it is. But this is just to ensure, look, we need to close this out right now. We cannot let that happen again. So I'm fully expecting a big rush through now. A way to just TDM it. Make sure you slay everyone you can. A 3-stack setup immediately from All Knights on this A site.
Get out of my
paranoia
way.
setup from what it seems like early on. TSM focused on A. Sim does have Blade Storm out. The ult economy looking fairly healthy on TSM's end. If they can survive into this next round. GMD does have a potential Cosmic Divide on top of the Viper Wall, but does make pushing the B a possibility later. You could also but secure any sort of backside denial if you plan on A. And it's just silence. Even TSM were expecting All Knights to make that rush through that I guess will never come.
Yeah. They've been very quiet when it comes to A. They've been letting TSM do all the talking. Same cannot be said for B lane, which has been pretty heavily watched up until this round, actually, with the save enacted by AK. It'll be the stack here that will not press. Instead, they will just wait until
Sabando?
TSM decides to press this. Yeah, what is Sabando thinking?
Could TP on top of that one way. Maybe the fragment nade would clear out the audio cue. But regardless, though, it's not to be yet again. TSM's taking their sweet time. They head back over to B. Most certainly, this should be a Cosmic Divide push.
20 seconds to go, and AK have completely given away the site. Tinchoff's here on A site. And there it is.
Who's next?
Easiest plant of TSM's lives. Thrown in.
Poison's off.
And it'll drain the Dimensional Drift as well as the Cosmic Divide, but AK will start fighting early because the Proto is holding mid and doing a pretty dang good job of it. Great damage, great headshots, great kills for the Viper to maintain, and Sim now ready for whatever is left with that Blade Storm in tow. A lot of ults that TSM have decided to use this round, but it's a necessary evil against an AK that want to be the heroes of the story.
remaining.
Another kill for Sim here, and it's down to just one. Sabondo is going to chill out in the entryway, wait to see if he can find an extra frag in any little old spot. But it'll be a 7-round diff, and that is what we're focusing on at this point for All Knights. Because of that 2-1 loss persists against All Knights. If they drop this to TSM, it will go to round differential against 2 game. Right now, All Knights are -3 rounds going into this match. 2 game are -4. So however many All Knights get on top of TSM here are so important, so integral to the amount of fodder that they have against TSM going forward into Sunset.
We'll have to wait and see how it plays out after this round. This win by TSM does not strike confidence in me. Most of the rounds we've seen from TSM have been based off of an overwhelming amount of ultimates used for them. The Cosmic Divides, the Yoru ult, the Viper's Pit, the Hunter's Fury, way a long time ago. That being said, love the idea of a Proto sacrificing himself to find that extra damage, knowing full well his util was not necessary for the post plan. He was dedicated to A site. Sim finds a very important opening pick. Dante's fallen. Still though, Adverso the same, the Hunter's Fury no longer accessible. Eagle Machine.
Spike down B.
Teach off.
I got the
The
spike.
Neural set, the last 2 left, they could still make a splash. This is certainly winnable for All Knights. And there's a fake decoy all the way in the back of mid that I don't think was heard. Oh, 1v4.
Standing.
Oh, Tinchoff can't land the shots! And that was such a massive part of making this round work, was shutting down Sim. But with that not coming to fruition, Nico Machine will not press any further and elect to save the rifle, taking us to 12-6 here. TSM, another great take. Incredible individual performance from these players, which is the one thing that everyone has been begging for this tournament.
Is there a reality where we see TSM do it again?
An inkling, for sure.
An inkling. Every round that continues, it's another blot, isn't it?
Soon enough, we'll see my parents fighting.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess it depends on
That
what
one's
you
a
see on the
psych
paper, huh?
joke for all you really fun
Oh,
people out
I
there.
got it. I got it. It took me a second, but I got it.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm like, okay.
That's why I love you.
I love you too. 6-12. Sim has that off again. He won that initial 50-50 against Dante, did not let him activate at the beginning of the round. It's the way TSM are winning these rounds that in my mind, alarm bells are going off.
Yeah.
These are very risky, very scary win conditions that they're relying on for success. Much less safe than it was back on Haven.
Yeah,
And this time,
extremely.
exactly, but All Knights now with a fast push. This is the round I wanted to see. The flashes out. Look at that double post smoke.
Oh, what?
7 on top. A 3K for Dante.
How do you find that third one, Dante? I'm gonna be so real. What they were looking for, and they had the rounds to do it. Is that the deciding moment for All Knights here on Abyss? Poised and Sim. A big debate needs to be had over whether or not to hold on to this operator and for how long. This is the only place you're going to be able to change that out. On site, you will have nothing but yourself. Sim will make the call. He's holding on to this thing as they make the trollops up mid. You've got to go one at a time, and this channel into Link is your best bet normally. But All Knights have it bolstered. Tinch off the opener, and in goes AK. Out goes TSM's chances of taking this in 2. We will go to Sunset, and All Knights have a 7-round gap to hoist themselves up against 2 game in the standings.
It's not an easy path for either one of these teams. Not nearly as easy as the fans of both have wanted it to be. Fighting for Ascension life once more. We go to the wire. A third match. Both teams fighting for their careers, fighting for one of the most difficult ventures they've ever had of their lives.
8 rounds. That is the gap that All Knights needs to keep. They cannot be more than 8 rounds short from TSM. If they win, if they do anything better then a 13-5, they will be in playoffs. TSM, the work is much harder. They need to win map 3. They need to take this home in order to have a chance at keeping their place in playoffs.
I don't know what's happening anymore, does anybody at this point? The tenseness, it's making us age by decades. But you know what? We'll do some reverse aging procedures in between our break, but don't go anywhere. We have one of the best maps that you're going to see this whole tournament coming right up.